This is Kelly Hill, technology reporter with RCR Wireless News. I'm here today with Samir Marwaha from NetScout, and we are going to be talking about a number of topics that have come up at LTE North America here. Samir, let's talk a little bit about how NetScout sees virtualization.
Yeah, we're truly embracing virtualization, and we have an advantage of having virtual solutions available in the market today. And with the merger that we've had with Danaher's communications business, we're expanding the capabilities of our virtual solution and really being there with the early adopters of virtualization and build upon our success there. So we've seen requirements from all over the globe in virtualization. We see carriers, obviously everybody knows about what AT&T is doing in terms of virtualization, switching their entire network in that direction. But most carriers across the globe are taking a phased approach of switching the IMS network first, then the core, and over long term with the radio access. And we're helping them today with our virtual monitoring solution, and over time we will be right there when they implement the full orchestration, visibility, the full automation, closed loop. The monitoring function will evolve with that.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about VoLTE. You guys have kind of an insider view, I think it's fair to say, of of how that's evolving. And so let's talk a little bit about what you guys are seeing.
Yeah. VoLTE's been very much a reality. It was mostly rolled out last year in large launches across the country here, and you see a lot of announcements in Europe from Vodafone Properties this year. We see launches in Asia Pacific as well. And again, we were fortunate to be there with the early adopters. And with VoLTE, it is very critical. It brings a lot of different organizations within service providers together. We used to see a lot of silos, and there still are to some extent, between the radio teams and core teams and IMS teams. And VoLTE is one service that's really forcing them to communicate with each other. The solutions we're providing for VoLTE are truly end-to-end, from radio access to core to IMS, so they get full visibility of how that voice service is performing on their LTE network. And it is a couple of reasons. From service providers' perspective, they want to compete with OTT players who are in offering voice services, and voice is a key service that service providers have good control over, so they can provide seamless coverage with VoLTE, which is a great incentive for them to do so. And secondly, they don't over time want to manage and deploy multiple network technologies. So over time, they want to have a single network, packet-based network, that they can offer voice, data, and video services on. And that's where our sweet spot will be from service assurance perspective.
So along with VoLTE is coming VoWiFi, so voice over Wi-Fi. Tell us what you guys are seeing there and some of the interesting things going on.
Yeah, for voice over Wi-Fi, and it's now being launched on a larger scale, there's different approaches from different service providers. There's service providers who are offloading the traffic immediately. There's a lot of benefit to offload to Wi-Fi, spectrum utilization or other coverage reasons. There's obviously, with VoLTE, there's attenuation indoors, so indoor offloading to Wi-Fi makes a lot of sense. And there's other service providers who are only offloading to Wi-Fi only if it's absolutely necessary. They would rather stick in a VoLTE environment as long as possible. So, but it does make economic sense. The CapEx spending is much different. It's a fraction of the cost of deploying infrastructure in the macro environment. So it does make economic sense. There are challenges, for example, QoS in the Wi-Fi environment. It will take a little bit longer to get there where we can differentiate and have high priority services like emergency E911 services, or even the auxiliary services that we're used to, like call forwarding, call waiting. All those things to get well adopted in Wi-Fi domain will take a little bit of time. We see from our perspective, whenever there's handovers, there's complexity, and that's good for service assurance. There is well-defined framework for voice over Wi-Fi to VoLTE with S2 interfaces and others that are standardized. The carriers know how to handle that. And there are others that are not so well defined, such as voice over Wi-Fi to 2G, 3G handovers, so that still needs some work. But yeah, voice over Wi-Fi is coming. There are reports out there that say that it will be 7 billion minutes of usage in 3 years, and even more than what VoLTE would be over time. And economically, it does make sense, but it does have some challenges that needs to come through to make that a reality.
Well, Samir, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.